So I'm going to take on a topic that you may or may not have seen that I believe I discussed here, but I also posted a video on this. And I don't expect you in any way to defend Texas because I don't think that they're marching into the SEC offense or office demanding an easy schedule. But to compare their schedule to Oklahoma's schedule is just, it's insane, the difference. I don't think that any league should be processing schedules that have that much disparity to them.
No, and I think it's funny the way they did it because it ended up perfectly for Texas. So I guess they took the last 10 years win percentage wise is how they came up with the schedule. So your schedule was
Somewhat.
harder, the better win percentage you had or whatever. They tried to even it out. I forget. It was one of the two. And obviously Oklahoma has been the much better program the last 10 years. And then Texas, kind of last year and then the year before was building towards being better. And then now I think Texas does have a better roster overall. And I'm not saying a lot. Like I think Texas probably has the fourth or fifth best roster. I think Oklahoma is somewhere in the 8 to 10 range. But yeah, and then they get the schedule that they do. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Obviously, if we're just talking SEC, it's pretty clear. It evens out slightly, Michigan. But
Sure.
yeah,
They don't play anyone. Yeah.
no, they play
Outside
literally
the
no one outside of conference. But yeah, it's really hard. Like you said, I think Texas A&M would be their second easiest game. It's probably our second hardest game, maybe our third, but still, I mean, it's crazy. They definitely do have a hard schedule, and they're also probably one of those teams we talk about. If Florida goes 9-3, if they go 9-3, they probably have a debate to sneak into the playoff.
So you've mixed it up with the Michigan guys a few times. Has anything that they've had to say? Because I would say, just my own barometer in talking to the fans here every day, that was considered to be a slam dunk Texas win after the national championship game and after the NFL draft. Even though Texas lost 10 players, Michigan lost 13, and obviously the quarterback and more star players. So, has anything that you guys have talked about caused you to be more concerned about this game?
No, because like really early in the offseason, like basically a month after the championship game, I kind of thought that way. But then I started looking at the roster and realized who they have coming back. And I'm like, this game's not going to be easy because their defense, in my opinion, is the best in the country. They have basically what we had last year on the interior, but they have that with the best cornerback in the country on the outside. So it's definitely going to be hard. The thing I do hate, though, is I guess it's because you have to do it. But I hear a lot from Michigan fans is, well, people said this last year. They do not have the same team as last year. You can't just use that as a reasoning is because of last year. You don't have J.J. McCarthy. You don't have Jim Harbaugh. You don't have a lot of those guys on offense. You don't have some of those guys on defense. This isn't the same year. It's not copy, paste, and repeat. That's not how this works. Even when Georgia went back-to-back, it was a different-looking Georgia team and a different path they took, and they weren't as good. But guess what? They still won the national championship. If that's your argument, that's fine. But you can't just say it's going to turn out the same way just because you have a system in place. That's not how this works. And it's going to be interesting because I went back and thought about it. So my point when I do go on that show is probably going to be about how I thought Ohio State last year protected Kyle McCord pretty well. Am I wrong on that, Mark?
No, you were not.
And I think
protected.
Yep. Yeah, and I think Texas' offensive line is just as good at that. And I don't think anyone in any comment section on YouTube, unless they're just like Kyle McCord's father, would argue that Quinn Ewers is worse than Kyle McCord.
No.
So I think Quinn Ewers, if he has that time, will be able to dice up that defense. And I know you have really good players, but the thing is, we've seen this throughout history. When a really good quarterback, or at least a good quarterback, has time to throw the football, they're able to make plays. The reason Michael Penix was not able to make plays versus Michigan, he had no time in the pocket. He was constantly moving either up in the pocket or side to side in the pocket, and it did not work out for him. If he had time, and if he actually threw the ball as well as he did versus Texas, or even 75% like he did versus Texas, Quinn Ewers will be able to make plays. I also think Steve Sarkisian, with this much time to prepare, does a really good job. We saw that in the Alabama game. And I made the point with TJ, and he agreed with me on this. The first game for these teams, take nothing away from it. When Texas plays Colorado State, it's not the same. When Michigan plays Fresno State, it's not going to be anywhere near the same. These guys are going to hold all their bullets in their chamber. They're going to play very vanilla. I remember when Texas played Rice last year, and I overreacted. I said, what the hell is this? If we play like this, we're going to get killed by Alabama. The next week, it's nowhere near the same team. And I'm like, oh, it's because Steve Sarkisian just didn't give a crap about Rice. He was preparing for Alabama the whole time. It's going to be the same thing with Colorado State. Colorado State will probably put up points because guess what? They have a pretty good quarterback. They have an NFL wide receiver, and they have Jay Norvell, who's a pretty good play caller. And this is their big game. This is like Texas versus Texas, or this is like Michigan for Texas. This is how big of a game it is for them. So I expect Colorado State to probably score 21 to 24 points, probably score through the air a decent amount, and people are going to overreact to that. Don't overreact. Wait till week 2.
Moose making a comment that he was picking Michigan before the running backs got hurt, and now he's even more confident. The only thing I would ask Moose to do is probably line up his actual prediction record on Michigan games over the last decade versus what their actual record is. I would like to know how many times he actually, in fact, picks Michigan to lose games.
Oh, and also on that point, I've seen that point made by Michigan fans. So you thought we were going to run on you is what you're saying. You didn't think that before. Come on, man. The only difference you could make in that point is we're going to be able to get to Quinn Ewers now because the guys can't pick up blitzes. If that's your point, I can't say anything to that because I haven't seen other than one guy in Jade Blue pick up blitzes consistently. The other two guys I don't know about, but running, we probably weren't going to be able to run versus Michigan anyways. It was probably going to be exactly what it was like versus Alabama. I think we averaged like 3 to 4 yards per carry just to keep you honest and then attack you over the top.
College football is even more exciting with some action on the line. And the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, showstopper from Wager Talk. 6 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last 2 seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Dace and Matt Zemek. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.